Hello and welcome to this new video. This week I just wanted to sit down here and chill a little and just speak to you about a roll of film that I recently shot. As you probably read in the title, I underexposed some expired film. These are photos that I haven't made a behind the scenes video about, and also I don't think they're going to land on Instagram, but I still somehow wanted to share them with you, so I thought I'd do it like this and just sit down and chat with you about it. So let's get into it. The roll of film these photos come from are from the very beginning of the time I started shooting film, so that was back in November, when you might remember I did my first ever film photography behind the scenes video. I also had another roll of film which I put into my mom's old point and shoot, which is the reason why it is underexposed, because the film is expired, and at least I learned on YouTube that expired film you should overexpose by each decade that it is expired. And this film was 15 years expired, but because I was shooting with a point and shoot, I couldn't manually overexpose. I've heard of ways that you can like scratch the markings on the film and trick the camera into thinking that it is a different ISO, but I didn't really want to get into that. I was a little too lazy maybe to do that, so I just went with it. I had it in this Minolta point and shoot, and this is the first photo I want to show you. By the way, these are absolutely not in chronological order, but this photo was from when Melly and I and her parents were on a little walk just on a sunny day. We thought we'd want to go out and have a little walk in the snow, and I really liked the scenery with the mountains and the houses of the place we were. We just went up a mountain and walked around that area, and I think the photo is quite okay. I mean, you definitely see that it's expired. It's extremely grainy, but it doesn't actually look as underexposed as you would expect it to look according to the expiration. And I think the colors are actually not that bad. The blue is looking pretty good. The overall warm tones are all leaning slightly towards magenta and towards red, which I personally am not such a fan of, but I think in this case it actually doesn't look too bad. And the snow doesn't really have a brutal color cast, so yeah, I think it's actually quite okay considering it's underexposed expired film from a point and shoot. But yeah, let's move on to the next photo. This photo is one of my favorites actually from this roll. And this was when Millie and I were either on a walk or we were just walking to the bins for the glass, I'm not sure. Anyway, that day was a sunny day and it had snowed the day before or so, I think, and the mountain had this nice snow coverage on top, and those clouds I thought were really pretty, just floating above that mountain. So I zoomed in with the camera. The point and shoot has this funny zoom lens where you just press a button and it zzz, comes out like that. It's pretty cute. I think the foreground is quite distracting. It's not really a good photo in compositional sense, but I really like the vibe of it, and the mountain just really gives the photo its goodness, I think. The lamp that is rising up and in front of the clouds, that actually looks quite cool, but the house on the left and the cars, those are a bit random, but I like the vibe of it. And I tried actually to compose the frame further up, but that didn't look good, so I just kept it like this. And as you probably noticed in the previous photo already, and this one as well, I have quite some scanning mistakes here. You can see that huge piece of hair or something in the top left, and just some dust overall. I wasn't really careful when scanning, and then when converting it in Lightroom, I saw it. But I kept them in the image. I didn't bother to clone stamp them away because I just wanted to show you the authentic image with all the mistakes that I've made. So this is the next photo. This is from a little trip with these two guys, Ahmed and Joseph. We were out on a photography trip, and this was our first stop, I believe. This was just by a lake, and it was still a little dark, so I wanted to get a portrait with flash. I thought flash always has a very interesting effect, and often I quite like it actually. It has this very personal effect, I think, and here again it looks very personal to me, and I really like the portrait. I think it turned out really funny actually. Yeah, I like it. Again, it's really grainy, but I think in this case it actually looks quite fitting, and yeah, the flash effect definitely works. The right side of the photo is definitely lacking any sort of detail, but I like that the left side of the photo does show the lake and some sky. Yeah, I think it's quite nice. Then moving on, this is one of the first photos from this roll of film. By the way, I think I didn't even explain which roll of film I was actually shooting. This is again one of those DM action films, the old film that my dad had lying around in the cupboard. These were just cheap grocery store films, I believe, back then. They have been long discontinued, I think. I haven't seen them anywhere. I can't even find any information about them online. So I think it was something very specific to the DM store in Austria. I suppose my dad just had a bunch of those lying around at home, and then at some point he switched to digital, and since then, 20 years later, he's still got them somewhere in the cupboard. So he gave them to me as I started to shoot film. And this is one of the first images I got with it, because I was just testing the camera, because I didn't even know if that Minolta point and shoot actually worked. So my mum was out here on the balcony stroking that cat, and I thought, oh, it's cool lighting. My mum's got her face in that spot of light, and I got this shot, and I think it's really nice. Overall, I think the image is actually quite cool. Then moving on, as you can see, this is just a minute later. My sister came also to stroke the cat, and I just got another portrait of the both of them, and I really like it. I think it has, again, this very personal character, the photo. I guess that's what film photography is often about, to make it a little nostalgic and look a little personal, and I think that really works here. The expiration doesn't really make a problem here, even though it was underexposed considering its expiration. I think it looks totally fine. Then this is, as you can probably guess, just a few minutes later again. And this photo didn't really turn out so nice, I think. The composition is pretty random and the lighting is mostly in the shadows, so you don't see so much. Yeah, the first two were much better, I think. So, jumping forward somewhere in time, this was at Melly's. I think we were probably just about to go shopping or something, and I thought, why not get a little mirror portrait with a flash? And again, I think with the flash, the photos actually look really decent considering it is expired and underexposed. I think it looks totally fine. I really like it. And again, the flash has such a personal character to it, and I also really like how the colors came out here. So this photo is quite nice, I think. Then this, I believe, is exactly the same situation, maybe. Maybe I just took my camera and just a moment after we got that selfie, I took this photo. I'm not sure. But yeah, again, with flash, and here also, again, I think flash is amazing. And we've also got this, I don't know, probably that's dust on the lens or something. There's this big circle next to Melly's face. I guess for commercial photography, that would probably be not so good. But for this personal photography, I think it just adds another piece of character to the photo. So I think it's quite cool. The vignetting is really strong here, but I think that probably is because there was just little light around there and the flash was just going straight at Melly. And she does not look very pleased about me taking the photo. But yeah, that's how it is when living with me. Then this is another portrait of Melly, which I'm not too sure how happy she is about, that I got. And as you can see, this one did turn out extremely grainy. I think this was just an overcast day, that's why there wasn't much light available. I didn't shoot with a flash, so therefore here the expiration is definitely very visible. I think the colors didn't come out very nicely. They do look a little bit muddy, although I do like the overall color palette, but just I think it does look a little bit too expired here. But yeah, I think it was fun just to test out the camera with that film. Then this was on a walk. I believe Melly and I were just taking a break from whatever we were doing and went on a little winter walk. Oh, especially because we had some snowy days, we probably decided to just enjoy the snow and go on a walk. And we came by this house and this car, which does look pretty old, and I quite like the aesthetic of old cars. And I guess old cars are quite of a cliche film photography theme, and this fits quite perfectly into that. So I got the shot of this car parked in I don't know, what do you call this? A shed? A garage? I don't know. I like it. I don't really know what to say. I think it's totally fine. It's not special, but it's not bad either. Then we got this photo. I don't like it at all. Here's a background story to this photo. Last semester, so at the time this photo was shot, Melly was taking a photography class at university, and this was for an assignment to do street photography, or she had the assignment to do street photography, and I was just going out with her. And I took the Minolta with me with that expired roll of film. I thought, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll find something to shoot. And then we saw this guy on his bicycle waiting for the red light to turn green. And I don't know, I just thought, oh, come on, let's shoot that. I just really wanted to shoot a photo, I think. But now, looking at it now, I don't think I should have shot it. The lighting was, as you can see, very overcast, so again, the expiration is very visible. It's super grainy, the colors are a little off. Again, a little too brown and magenta-ish. Although I have to admit, I don't really know what the film is supposed to look like, but I'm guessing after its 15 years of expiration that it's not exactly accurate to what it's supposed to look like. And yeah, the photo, I don't know, I just think it's pretty bad. Oh, and then we've got this photo. So this was on that trip with Joseph and Ahmed, and we found this bus stop. I was actually shooting with the Pentax on that trip, but I also had the Minolta with me because I was just trying to finish off that roll. And so I shot the same photo I got with the Pentax with this camera. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really grainy and quite dirty looking. And also, interestingly, this photo has a light leak, whereas all the other photos didn't have one. I don't know where that light leak suddenly came from, but yeah, you can see at the bottom there, there's somehow light coming through. I mean, the composition isn't too bad, but yeah, no, you can totally skip this photo. It's nothing worth mentioning, actually. Oh, and then there's this photo. This is even worse, as you can see. The camera exposed for the sky here, so everything in the foreground is completely dark and grainy. And again, we've got that light leak. But yeah, no, this photo is pretty terrible. Oh, and then there's this photo. Again, I think the camera sometimes exposed for the shadows, which was quite convenient considering the film was expired. But here, the camera obviously exposed for the sky or for the highlights, and therefore everything's dark and everything's grainy. And to be honest, the composition is also pretty random. I think this was also one of the last photos, and I was just trying to finish off the roll because I wanted to free up that film and that camera and send that film into development. Also because I knew that I'm underexposing the expired film, which at first I hadn't actually thought about, and then later on, as I realized, I wasn't so motivated to shoot it because I thought they're all just going to come out as really terrible photos. So yeah, this is one unmotivated photo, which yeah, it does look pretty bad. Oh, okay. This photo and the next one coming are like the absolute worst photos that this camera and that film shot. I don't exactly know why these particularly got so bad. Maybe because of the snow, the camera was exposing for the highlights, and that's why these photos look so terrible. I mean, just look at the little amounts of detail in the shadows. It's basically just a bunch of grain. Yeah, no, this photo is really bad. So yeah, I'm guessing that the camera just exposed for the snow and everything else is just looking absolutely horrible. And also, as you can see, I wasn't so motivated when scanning. I've got so much dust here. Yeah. Alright, so let's move on to some better photos. Not that this is particularly a good photo, but it's at least exposed quite normally. The only problem is that I missed focus. Actually, the camera missed focus because I didn't control the focus. The camera actually just does it automatically. And as it seems, here it decided that something else is supposed to be in focus. Maybe it tried to focus on the window I was shooting through, I'm not sure. But yeah, actually, even though the photo is out of focus, I do totally get the vibe because I was just shooting the sunset and I just enjoyed the colors going on here, and I guess that was captured quite okay. So I think this is one of the last photos. We're coming to an end now, and I think this photo is actually really beautiful. This was just shot from our balcony, and I think I just got up and the sun was coming up and I really enjoyed the light. And you have to imagine the actual lighting situation, I think, was far warmer and more orange, and the film for some reason went really blue here, but I actually think it looks quite cool. The sky has this really rich color, which I think is looking good. Again, the sides are just falling off into darkness a bit, but at least the middle, I think it actually looks quite decent. So this is, you could say, the last photo. You'll understand what I mean when I show you the actual last photo. This one I think is pretty nice looking. You don't really see the expiration too strongly here. I mean, it's again pretty grainy, but apart from that, I don't know what the camera was exposing for, but it's definitely looking okay, and it's looking nice and bright. And so yeah, this is a photo of the cat, Mellie's mum's cat. She's chilling in the sun, enjoying some morning sun, and I don't know, her eyes don't really look so happy about me shooting a photo. And also, I don't know if you saw, but I included myself in the photo in that shadow at the right bottom. yeah, I don't know, there's not that much to say about this photo except that I think it actually looks quite good considering the film is expired and underexposed. But then comes the actual last photo. I found this in the negatives. Yeah, I'll just show you. This here. I have no idea what is going on here. I just went through my negatives and found a little bit of an image, and I can't remember shooting this, but I scanned it anyway, and I already saw while scanning that this looks like it's going to be something really weird, and that's why here I didn't even crop it correctly because I thought all the other things on the side also looked really interesting. And so this is just a bunch of grain, and you can barely see that there are some clouds, and I think those are some trails from an airplane or something. And at the left bottom there's, I don't know, a tiny bit of a house or something. So I just wanted to show this to you, even though I have no idea what I would ever use this for. Looks somewhat experimental. That was that roll of film. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was pretty random. And yeah, I just wanted to show you that roll of film and have this chill sit down video and chat with you. Please leave your thoughts in the comments if there was any image that you were surprised about how good it looks or how terrible it looks. I mean, there were definitely a few really terrible examples here, and yeah, I shall remember not to put expired film into that point and shoot camera. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, that would help the channel to grow, and consider subscribing if you haven't yet. And I'll hopefully see you again next week in the next video. Until then, goodbye.